brother of Brian Albert, who is a key player. Again, that's because they found the victim's body outside his home. I went to bed last night trying to keep all these names straight, but now we have Nicole Albert, and she has 5 kids. So, Nicole Albert on the stand. Let's go back in.
The window at the door, and his friend Julie, she went out the side door, and I said, oh, to Brian, oh, is Julie leaving? And he said, well, no, she had asked her brother for a ride.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. So no conversation, and Mr. Lally's going to ask another question.
Okay.
So you saw your son's friend Julie go outside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
so that has to be a yes or no. Okay.
Sorry.
And at some point, did Julie come back into the house?
Yes.
And about how long was it, if you know, that she was outside before she came back in?
I don't think it was very long, a couple minutes.
And over the course of the entirety of the evening, at any point, did anybody else, other than the people that you've talked about previously, come into your house?
No.
And specifically, John O'Keefe or Karen Reed that you saw at the bar earlier that night, at any point in time on the evening of the 28th or the early morning of the 29th, did either of those people come into your house?
No, they never came into my home.
And at any point in time, even on that evening or that early morning of the 29th, were you aware that they were coming to your house?
I actually wasn't. I think when I was in the other room with my husband and his friend, I had missed the conversations about Jennifer reaching out with John, or her texting him and him texting her about where we lived. I didn't even realize that was happening, that they had any intention to come.
Let me ask you a little bit about sort of going back to the waterfall just for a brief moment. Over the course of your time there, how would you describe sort of the tone or how was everybody at the waterfall?
It was fine. It was a nice night. It was nothing out of the usual, just had a good time.
So nothing abnormal, no arguments, no fighting or anything like that?
No.
Same question as it relates to back at your house now at 34 Fairview Road. How would you describe sort of the atmosphere back there?
Same thing. We were just hanging out, sitting around the house talking, having a good time, nothing crazy.
Now, after your daughter, Caitlin, gets picked up and she leaves, what, if any, how long did you stay up after that?
I think once she left, I just did my final cleanup of the kitchen and, shut the lights, and I went upstairs to bed.
And do you recall anything about locking the front door or any of the doors to your house before you went up to bed?
No.
Is that something that you would always do, typically do, never do?
It was type of thing where we have 5 kids, everyone's coming in and out at different times. Like the last person in was supposed to lock it, but then, we changed the doorknobs and immediately the keys got lost. It was just always a disaster. So a lot of times the door was just kind of left unlocked.
And when you went up to bed, you share a bedroom with your husband, Brian, correct?
Yep.
And was he awake or asleep?
He was awake. He was just lying in bed watching TV.
Now, as far as over the course of that evening after you come up to bed with your husband, do you recall anything about him talking to anyone on the phone or any phone conversations or anything like that?
I do not.
At some point you fall asleep and then you wake up the next day, is that right?
Yes.
And turning your attention to later on that morning on the 29th, so you had gone to bed about what time?
Probably 2:30-ish, somewhere around there.
And it's a little unclear for my question, but when you go up to your bedroom, about what time is that?
About 2-ish.
And so the 2:30 that you're talking about, is that sort of when you fall asleep?
Yeah, sometime around there.
And from that next morning, how is it that you wake up the next morning?
Well, at some point between 6 and 6:30 that morning, my sister Jennifer came bursting into my bedroom.
And comes bursting into your bedroom, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, how would you describe your sister Jennifer, and how was she sort of acting at that point?
Well, she came in, my husband and I just kind of sat up in bed, and she's saying, he's out in the snow. We found him out in the snow. We don't know if he's okay. And my immediate thought was just that something had happened to one of my children, something had happened to one of her children. I couldn't imagine why she was in my bedroom at this time in the morning. And I'm like, Jennifer, what are you talking about? And she's like,
Objection. You're set.
All right, next question.
Your Honor, if I may, can we approach?
Okay.
Let me back you up just for a second, and I'll get back to this. As far as when your sister Jennifer comes into your bedroom, do you know about what time that was?
between 6 and 6:30.
And it's fair to say that's not a normal occurrence?
No, it's never happened before.
And if you could just describe your sister Jennifer's demeanor when she first comes into your bedroom.
She was hysterical.
And she says some things to you, and then where did you go from there?
Well, I tried to ask her what was going on, what is she talking about, and she told us.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, I'm going to allow that.
So she told us, what had happened or what she had just witnessed outside, and we were just trying to understand what she's saying. Like I said, I didn't know if it was something that happened to one of her kids, one of my kids, and so I said, Jennifer, I don't know what you're talking about. So she finally was like, well, John, remember John from last night at the waterfall? And I'm like, what do you mean? How could you be outside? And she's like, you got to get up. The police are here and they want to talk to you. So my husband and I got up. I think I threw on a sweatshirt and we started to walk down the stairs. As we walked down the stairs into that foyer area, Officer Link was walking in the house.
And so that front foyer area would have been the front door you were talking about before?
Yeah.
And when you get sort of down to the bottom of the stairs, is it just Officer Lank? Are there any other officers with him?
It was just Officer Link at that time. And the door was halfway open. I kind of pushed it open, looked out, and I saw like a cruisers and a couple of guys, standing out in the snow. And I said, Jennifer, where's John now?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to move on, Mr. Lally. The objection is sustained.
As far as when you looked outside, did you see any ambulance or fire truck or anything like that?
No, I didn't see an ambulance. I did see maybe 2 cruisers. I don't remember if there was a fire truck there. I don't think there was, but I'm not sure.
And as far as Officer Lank or any other officers, these are officers with the Canton Police, is that correct?
Yeah.
And where did they go once you opened the door?
So he came in the house, and I believe around the same time Jennifer's husband, Matt, had come. I assume she had called him or whatever. So it was me, Brian, and Jen and Matt, and Officer Lang said, can I come in? Can I talk to you guys? And we said, sure, absolutely. He came in, we sat at the table, and he was just kind of asking us all, okay, where were you last night?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, sustain. Next question, please.
The table that you're talking about, where in the house did you talk to officers?
That same dining room area.
And without regard to sort of content of the conversation, but about how long a period of time did that conversation with the officer go on?
I don't know, 45 minutes, maybe. I'm not exactly sure.
The officers to leave the home or anything like that?
No.
And you welcomed them inside once you realized what was going on?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe another officer had come in as well.
Now, after the officers leave from your home, what happened then?
So I believe they left and said that someone would be in touch with us, the state police or somebody. So they left, and we were all just kind of sitting there in shock. I'm asking Jennifer, what happened? How did you end up here? What's going on?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question, please.
Your Honor, as far as May we approach this?
Not exactly the wake-up call you want. That's what this witness is certainly thinking. That's Nicole Albert. Remember, she is the wife of Brian Albert. They live in the house upon which the yard is attached, and that's where John O'Keefe was found that morning. And that's what she's learning at 6 in the morning when her sister comes in and says, wake up, cops are here. They found John in the yard. She's freaking out. We learned a lot about what happened up to the point where they got to that wake-up call. And we're still very unclear, at least in terms of what I think this jury has heard, as to who did what, when, and where. We know where a lot of bodies might have been. Luckily, I have some help trying to sort this all out. This is kind of a Rubik's Cube of witnesses. It's really unbelievable. Katherine Lizardo is here. She is a trial attorney. Always good to have you, Katherine. And, of course, Bob, one hell of an attorney, is here on set with me and maybe regretting it already. Bob. So here we have this really a familial relationship with this bar and everybody there. John O'Keefe, the decedent, ultimately was kind of an outsider. People didn't know him all that well. Or Karen Reed, they were not part of the big Albert clan. And so how is the jury going to take all of this family environment information and try to squeeze from that what it really means in terms of the death of John O'Keefe?
Well, they're going to have to process a lot here. I mean, you have two stories that are really kind of out there. You have the defendant claiming, she's being framed by this family of officers for a death that she didn't cause. On the other side, you have them saying that, she hit this victim, O'Keefe, and then took off. And, as a consequence, she's the one who caused the death. So what this witness is trying to be presented for is to just show a little bit about what happened that night. They were there. She doesn't really identify either one, goes to bed, and then all of a sudden, she's advised about the aftermath. So, her importance may be with respect to either what she saw or what she heard afterwards. But I think, I don't know that it helps either case right now.
I mean, there's so much foundational information here. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, that maybe it's overload for the jury, that it forces them to sift through so much stuff. Don't know if that's the prosecution's plan or maybe it's just too much. Katherine, let me ask you this. I want to take a step back because as we think about the crime, this is a second-degree murder charge. Okay, that means, well, I'll let you explain this because malice is an issue. And when I think malice, I think Katherine Lizardo. So tell us how that plays out in this case with the facts as we know them so far.
Well, the second-degree murder was charged against her because they don't believe that she intentionally killed her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, because the allegation here is that she backed up to him and killed him that way. If it was first degree, that means that there was malice, that she intentionally tried to run him over with her car. So, which I find very interesting because the allegation is she backed into him. So it's an accident, and she accidentally killed him with her vehicle and then left him there. So she did not know that she was there. That he was there. That's what she's claiming. And we see in the video right now that she was backing out. I think that's at her home. So we see the extreme weather at that time. So she was claiming she did not know and see because of the weather as well. And hypothermia was one of the reasons that O'Keefe died as well there, according to the coroner's report. So it's interesting the play out of all of these theories.
Yeah, and one of the other issues, and we saw it in that video, is the snow. How much was there? We went to the Long Crime Storm Desk yesterday. We'll get some details on this snow that was coming down. It was a record snowfall. It was a nor'easter of historic proportions. So it does have some impact on this case. We will get to that and much more as the Karen Reed case continues out of Massachusetts. Stay where you are. Coming right back.